last name. Because I knew I was, yeah, I knew that I'd written it down,
Catch.
but I thought, I don't have it on this page. So,
Well,
not that I was gonna use your last name, I wanted to.
well, my son, when he was in first grade, was convinced that we didn't know how to say our last name because his teacher said tech. And he's like, no, my teacher said it's tech. And you guys are wrong. I said, I think your dad knows how to say his last name. That was always a funny joke in our family.
Well, and a lot of people struggle, they'll say Myler, and I go, come on, it's Miller.
Miller.
No, one that's 60 years old. My oldest son is
She does the door this morning.
and the doctors told me that he might have a little hard time developing.
Either that or someone's out there, but I'm sure it's, yeah.
Getting to talk. So I kept working with him, Art, come on, you know, just saying words. And finally, he was like 18 months old and we're driving down the road and he leaned up from the back seat because back then,
Yeah, you didn't have,
no.
right.
Anyway, he says, Mommy, look, I've got a nooger on my grammar. Wow.
That's exactly how Ben started. He didn't say anything and then he
I
spoke
did
in
that.
sentence.
I was 2 years old and all I did was jibber jabber, but I knew what I was saying. I mean, I had expressions, I laughed and, you know, like I was really saying something. And one day I walked next door neighbor, and he was up on a ladder fixing something around his garage. And I said a complete sentence, and he about fell off the ladder. I mean, all they'd ever heard me say was jibber jabber, so.
Jibber jabber.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
All right, let's rein it in, people. All right,
Sorry. Yes,
we
right.
got, a motion to, all right, first of all, any public participation.
We have our one manager in person, Tanya, and then we have Heather and Amber on Zoom. And it's hard to call them public participation since they're staff.
That's it.
Sure. Okay, I need a motion to approve the disposal of records.
I make a motion. It is dispersal of records.
I'll
To
second.
approve.
Bart,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes,
Tracy. Yes. Sue.
Yes.
Tina.
What are these vouchers for?
They're just old payment vouchers that have been kept in paper in.
I looked at the years and I'm
In
going,
the storage room in.
yeah,
Upstairs.
20
here.
plus years.
So we are starting to really go through and make sure we've disposed of anything that we do not have to keep anymore. I think it's 5 years in for vouchers, and except for I think construction and grants and loans, it's pay, and obviously HR things we can't get rid of, but everything else can go. And so far I've got about 2 full banker's boxes in my office of things that we've, and that's just the last 2 little bits that we've passed along to you, but we're trying to get rid of them bit by bit. And then make sure what can be digitized is digitized that we have to. So paper going away.
thank you. Any other business? Nada? Okay, I think we can close that meeting and move on to our regularly scheduled meeting. Start with the call to order. Boom.
Oopsie. Mark,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Bart,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue.
Still here.
Tina.
Just had to do that. I'm mischievous tonight.
Participation.
Same as before, I guess.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay, I need an approval of the minutes from the September 2022 special and regular board meetings.
I move that we approve the minutes from the regular and the special board meeting. I second.
Mark,
Yes.
Bart,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Tina.
All right, Ms. Lynn, correspondence.
Correspondence, Public Library Fund for October. The county got in just under $129,000. Our share of that was just under $80,000. So as of October, we have reached what we anticipated receiving for PLF funds for the entire year. And we still have 2 months of PLF funds to receive, which makes me feel really good, since we've had a number of additional expenses, unanticipated expenses this year. I would guess that total at the end of the year will probably be about 100,000 over the PLF, what was budgeted. So that's good. But we don't know what's going to come. And then next year, 2023 is a state budget year. And so we will be advocating for library funding, and hopefully it will stay at that same 1.7% of the general revenue fund. But again, that's just something to think about in terms of ongoing public library fund monies. And I just want to say, Tina, if I am skimming over something, you need to say, whoa, explain.
I don't understand.
Yes, exactly. Please.
So when do they start the budgeting forecasting for the next year?
So the governor typically gives his proposal or her proposal in February. And of course, that position is up for election. So timing may vary based upon whether Governor DeWine stays governor or if there's a change. Then it goes to the legislature. I think the House gets it first, and then after they're done and they've tweaked it and run numbers, then the Senate gets it, and then they have a conference committee to try and make the two mesh together. And usually it's 11th hour. I mean, June 30th is the end of the budget year, and it's usually June 30th. Sometime in the evening when they are, finally deciding that they can agree upon a budget.
And so does it get backfilled then from 23, or does it go July to July?
Yes, yeah, and they do a 2-year budget.
Okay.
They got 2 budget. So yes, there will be lots of things happening in the spring where you may be called upon to contact your legislators about keeping public library funding strong. I verbally mentioned this, but I did send all the required letters to the commissioners. They gave me their final appointment. They agreed with your recommendation on Tina, and we got that oath of office done on Monday. So she's official, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And then as far as other things going on with the Ohio Library Council, you may have heard of Broadband Ohio, and that's what, the organization that's really working on making sure that Ohio has very strong internet connections and it's accessible to all. And there is a planning grant, a state digital equity planning grant that OLC wants to make sure libraries have voice in. And so they're coordinating a webinar tomorrow, actually, about that I'll be participating in. And then I have been talking a little bit about the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio, and because you've all heard about the $500 million funding that they're giving. Well, now there is there's a fellowship called the Growing Home Fellowship that they've opened up. And this is to identify and help develop leaders in our area so that we don't lose the best and brightest going somewhere else. And I have started conversation with our management team to see if there are people on our staff that we need to support to apply for this fellowship. I think there's like a $32,000 stipend over the course of, it's a 5-year commitment to stay employed in Appalachian, Ohio, in an organization that supports K through 12 students. So that could be schools, could be libraries, could be a lot of different organizations. So I saw it and I thought, this falls right into our succession planning, that whole discussion about how do we make sure that next generations are being trained. There is an age limit though, so if you're over 35, you are not considered young enough apparently to be developed in apply for television. So sorry for some of my staff, but you know, that's the cutoff, but you know, I really
So
want to
you're,
see.
you're over and done at 35.
Yeah.
You won't retire until you're 66, 67, but. Jeez.
I don't know.
Proud.
And then, of course, you probably have heard this, but just to make sure that you know it, the minimum wage is going up January 1 according to the Ohio Constitution. 80 cents, biggest jump I've seen. I was, the year it went up 25 cents, I was going, what's going on with this? Of course, I knew that this was going to be the result of making a constitutional amendment, but we are fortunate in a position so that that's not something we need to worry about. Our entry level start at minimum $12 an hour. So we're good, but just, something to keep an eye on because I don't think it's going to go away. And those who have been, yelling $15 may still be doing that. And, so, and then just, I opened some mail and there was a check in it, but there was also a nice little Post-it note that I want to read to you all. Lynn, the Brown County Library System does so very much for the county, especially in the communities they're deposited in. Great job, greatly needed, and I think that it's a lot to do with your mission and your employees and volunteers. Fayetteville's branch is outstanding. Thanks Chuck and Chris, who are Fayetteville patrons, but they have been very consistent with putting their money where their mouth is, and just a great couple of people that but they have always said to me, we love Fayetteville, but if you need the money somewhere else, and that's nice, we think that it's important that branch get those funds to use. So yeah, just a nice little pat on the back to all staff and volunteers, which you all are.
And okay, thank you, Lynn. We're going to go on to financial reports with Miss Sarah.
Okey-dokey. The appropriation summary is the first report in your packet. I'm looking on the left-hand side under the general month-to-date expenditures. Salaries were at $65,179.48. That's down about $802 compared to August. So we're right in the ballpark for salaries. Employee fringe benefits, $15,060.90. That's up around $171 from August. Library materials and information, employee purchased and contracted services, $9,946. That's down $8,267 from last month. Library materials and information, $27,304.57. That's up $6,620. Our total month-to-date expenditures for the general fund was $115,935, which was down $5,393 from August.
What's that credit? It's just a balance over.
Yeah. Month-to-date expenditures, all funds, $127,596.22. Bank reconciliation reports, receipts for the month of September, $86,748. Payments, $133,036.45. And then I did $5,250 in adjustments. Outstanding payments as of today, all of our September checks have cleared. Yay, I love when that happens. I don't like to track anybody down. You do a bookkeeper or something. Something. Previous life.
Maybe a slide.
The general fund cash flow report for September. So little. PLF. You guys don't have a birthday soon. $85,494.26 was PLF for September. Other receipts, $381.28. I didn't bring in much besides PLF for the month of September, bringing that total to $85,875. My general fund expenditures, $115,935.01. Cash summary by fund. Like I mentioned before, my expenditures out of all the funds, $127,596. Expenditure reconciliation report. I made $49,293 in payments. My two payrolls, the September 15th payroll had a couple more days in that pay period, which made it $33,486.31. The September 30th payroll was $30,347.99. The board chair retirement, the OPERS was $8,934.27. Board chair Medicare tax, $893.98. Board health insurance, $4,367. The local taxes, they're normally a negative except for at the end of the quarter, so you can see what I paid this time versus what stayed. Health insurance for the employees, they paid $1,090, bringing my total expenditures to $127,596.22. Payment listing, you can see all kinds of adjustments. This was a big one. So the top, maybe a third are friends. There was a negative adjustment for People's Bank. I'm not sure how many people know about, I think we talked about my performance review and that payroll and checks didn't show up. They tried to charge me for that, for getting that one day. It got taken out. So that was that negative $86. Yeah, they're not gonna charge me for their mistake.
It's good.
Fayetteville and Sardinia no longer are eligible for the Enquirer. They're cutting back on delivery services. So that's what all those adjustments are. And then we have some E-rate reimbursements.
They're not delivery based.
No, it's all online now. Yeah. So that's what those, the Enquirer gave me some money back.
It's good.
So my payments, $49,293. Any questions about any of the checks that
What was Charter Communications?
Charter Communication is now,
It was top of page 2.
Charter Communications is now, Spectrum, Time Warner. It's either
Oh,
always.
they changed names, but
They're always.
okay. I think there was something like that, but it just,
Yep,
so that was our E-rate
Yeah.
reimbursement, okay.
yep. Fund summary report, like I mentioned 13 times already, month-to-date expenditures, $127,596. My open POs for September, $206,711.60. I still have that 2021 library design PO hanging out there. Want to get rid of that. You have an extra report this month, the quarter end report. So I'm going to do a quick comparison of 2021 versus 2022. So PLF, like Lynn mentioned, we are sitting pretty with PLF. We are up 58,827 compared to last year at this time. So this is September, this was in October. Local taxes, rollback homestead taxes were up $5,962 compared to 21. Services provided to other entities were down $1,184. Other receipts were up $1,724. So our total general fund compared to 2021, we're up $65,329. Yay.
Yay.
Quick question.
Sure.
What is services provided to other entities?
So it's primarily, we contract with the law library, the county law library, and we provide services to them. Basically, we run their library for them, so they pay us.
And I bill them quarterly, so sometimes it's a timing too of when I'm getting payments.
And occasionally there will be some additional, we'll front some money for a grant, or there'll be some little something but that's the bulk of it, is that contract.
General fund expenditures, third quarter 2021 compared to 2022, our salaries are up $20,813. That's to be expected for your generous increases. Employee benefits were up $3,099. Library materials were up $29,892. Capital outlay, we're down 2,259. Other operating expenditures were down 6,215. We have that advance out from March that we haven't had before, and that was 55,460. Hopefully we'll take care of that. No transfers out yet. So total general expenditures were up $50,790. Questions about that?
Any questions from Ms. Sarah?
Quarterly report?
It might be helpful to, look back momentarily at that cash flow one, just because you mentioned the transfer that we haven't done yet. But you had all approved $210,000 in transfers from the general fund into the various special funds. And we would typically wait till the end of the year to do that, just so we can be sure that we have sufficient funds to do it. Because on that cash flow report, it's roughly halfway down the page of centers where it shows where our spendable balance is. We have the policy that the minimum fund balance of $350,000. And so even when you take into account those monies that we will transfer, because she's got them planned in that spreadsheet, and the minimum fund balance, we still look to be having $361,000 in change over and above our cushion at the end of the year. And that's not really, I don't know if that takes into account PLF being higher as well, and how that might play in.
Well, I have estimated in that based on what Ohio said they're gonna give us. So I think it kind of is.
Okay, so just so that you know that we have the money to do all the things that we said we were going to do, and we've got that extra. Now, in some organizations, if you have money at the end of the year, they look at you and say, well, you don't need that because we still got it there, right? And we've talked about increasing our minimum fund balance, which I think we need to do since we're actually spending at a higher level now. But even so, we still got a decent chunk of money left. And so we just need to be thinking about that is there. We don't have appropriated to spend it, but especially because we're running anticipated expenses with construction and other issues this year, we may need to use some of that and take care of things with some of that money. But I'm all for saying, let's put it in some of our existing, our capital account, our technology fund, so that we have it and when we need it later on. So just throwing that out there.
I need a motion to accept financial and investment reports, approve paid bills, and accept donations.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Tina.
I need a motion to approve the transfer of $80,000 from the general fund 1,000 unappropriated reserves to the Georgetown Renovations Fund 4006 for the purpose of completing advances between the funds.
I'll move.
I did say a question, or was that a second?
No, it was, second.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Tina.
Next, we need to have a discussion regarding the transfer from checking account to Star Ohio. And who would like?
Was there anything additional that?
No. My takeaway is, do we want to keep more money for the unknown till the end of the year? Or through the first quarter of next year? I don't know, just.
Because over the last couple of months, we've talked about
Yeah.
having so much in our checking
Right.
account right now.
And moving
Right.
some into the Star of Ohio. I don't think we've made, I'm trying to remember, 2016, is that what I told you was the last time we moved money out of our primary account into Star? I think that was $200,000. So I think that was the end, so.
It remind me, refresh my memory, what the balance in checking is roughly right now.
Our primary is a little over $1 million.
That's
In,
what-
in checking, that's a lot.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, especially when
Are you not surprised?
moving money between our checking and Star Ohio is very easy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's liquid.
Just giving them
both
big
ways. And so it's not a matter of, okay, you gotta have, let that money sit in Star Ohio now for a certain period of time. So,
Yeah.
so that's, you know, I think that as a board, you need to think about what your risk, what our risk is in keeping $1 million-ish in a local bank's checking account
Right,
and
right.
we want to, you know, and what might that be? I mean, Sarah's obviously the best one to be able to say, this is how much money is
Yeah.
going through,
Yeah.
you know, on a
Right.
monthly basis.
It's
whatever.
the PLF being so high, it's almost clearing out what I'm paying out.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation for the board? So if we got $1 million sitting in there, I guess we'd have to think about what's our comfort level
Yeah.
leaving X amount in
Yeah.
the checking that you would feel comfortable with.
I would love to know what the checking account had when Vivian made that large deposit. I don't know if I would ever know that, but just trying to think about what that sweet spot is.
Is that back in our, somewhere in our documentation? that we can find?
Maybe, yeah, I found her documentation from when she made the transfer, so,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But is there a
Heather wants to-
70-30 split, 60-40, 75-25?
20, I don't know. I would feel comfortable doing like 200 or
I was gonna say
250.
20%.
Yeah,
So what is the requirements if we were to move 200,000 over? Like, what is the timeline that we can't touch that?
I don't think there is.
So it-
Well-
I think it's liquid, you can move it back and forth.
And if there's already 200,000 there,
Yeah,
I would say chances are there would not be one.
Right.
Just because,
if we needed access.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's liquid and you could easily pull it out,
Yeah.
there's no.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever, from what I've gone through the records, I don't think we've ever taken it out. We've just put it in there. Do you remember ever taking?
I believe that when we were in the midst of our big
Oh,
construction
okay.
projects.
Yeah.
Because the bond issue. that-
I was gonna
that's
say,
where the money
Vivian was
went.
here when we did that.
And that was probably it. So I'm looking Star Ohio. It says that right now, the interbank balance is $328,500.
Yeah.
And what are we earning in interest on that?
It varies with the market. Right now, it's really, really good. At the end of the year, it was really, really low. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
But better than a check.
Better check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
does 200,000 make sense?
I like the 80-20 because we're just slightly over $1 million. So
Okay, so maybe that,
Yeah.
so we need a motion for that?
Is there a red flag from the bank? Or they're gonna do an audit for us taking that out? That or so?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Think not in downtown.
Most of
Maybe in Hamilton.
Moving it to the state, I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
like it's a check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I'd rather see us make some money on, I mean, it's not a lot, but it's still more than the checking and.
As always, I think you could check with any of the school districts there,
Yeah,
with the treasurers,
I'll check with Carrie.
check with Carrie, the
Yeah.
vocational school.
Now, is there a way, or you may already do this, do you calculate the interest earned on the STAR account?
They do it for me.
They do it for me, so you just.
Yeah,
add it
I think
into
in one
the-
of those reports, it should.
Yeah, there is, I can't remember which one.
I think it's the bank.
It is bank balances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It'd be nice
I
to see
think I
that.
shared this before. Mike Boyd used to be the treasurer of the vocational school. He was also the treasurer for the village of Mount Orm. And Mount Orm really grew. We can see that, and he always seemed to be really with Star Ohio. So
well, and it
That's what
is
impressed me.
the
Oh, yeah.
approved.
Yeah.
vehicle for us to make investments. We can't, as a public entity, we can't use any others. That's the one we're
Okay.
allowed to do. So
The difference between August and September was $683, so.
Over a year, it's like
Yeah.
$7,000.
No, no, we know what it is. It's a ghost.
Should add 20%.
Mary.
But at the beginning of the year, it was like under 100, so it just, you know how the market is, so.
There's also somebody who's cleaning, so.
Function.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we need a motion, right?
I would move that we do an 80-20 split between the checking account and Star. And move 200,000.
I think we just say around 200.
Okay.
Okay, but that's a good goal for us to
Mhm.
keep
Yeah.
in mind.
I'll second.
Okay,
Let's see, Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen,
yes,
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
And Heather, that would still leave enough probably to have a storage shed for Mount Orphan.
Don't even tease her.
Well, she wrote it on the chat, so I just thought I'd better respond.
She wrote it on the chat. Wanted to make sure we did that.
That's-
Make sure we. were-
They are very necessary.
Yes, they are.
Right, so on to the executive director's report and Lynn, so it's the building report and statistics.
Yes, building report and statistics, it's fall, it's crazy busy again. The managers and I had a discussion at our last manager meeting about how we're feeling as though the expectation maybe that we put on ourselves and the public coming in is that things are normal. And of course, our staffing isn't quite at normal levels and our hours aren't quite at normal levels. So accommodating all of that and doing the kinds of things, the services and the resources that they're needing, it's a bit of a stretch. And I think we're starting to really feel that. But fall has always been what seemed like a very busy time for libraries. And I think that you're going to be seeing that, if not already. September is a little bit wonky because of the fair, right? Everything kind of slows down, fair and school starting up, but all of the things that are planned, I mean, you're surrounded by an escape room, there are trivia nights that are being scheduled, there's story times, all kinds of things, but you've got managers here with you either in person or on Zoom. So if you have any questions, then now's the time to ask.
I had a question for Heather.
Of course you did.
And what would that question be, Mark?
What's that?
And what would that question be?
So has Ella returned? Was she a college student or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's a college student.
Okay. Okay, that was it.
I was looking at it. I was at my board last night for the volunteer.
Mhm.
And there were over 20 kids there. That was
That's-
awesome.
It's great.
that is good, yeah.
For a teen
Yeah.
program, that's huge, yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
That is great.
And how about the back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a little Halloween.
You got your room. I like that.
He came early.
Yeah.
But so we had to boot him out.
But you didn't kill him.
No, we didn't.
Oh, good. How helpful they are.
They eat mosquitoes.
I know, but people don't like bats. They're outside.
It shouldn't bother him.
We have one over by.
I don't have a bat, but I love bats.
But, we felt that it was because it was on metal bottom.
Mm.
The sun hit it.
Too hot,
It wasn't
yeah.
very successful.
It requires direct sunlight. The
And
bat box does.
But it should be
typically
blue.
color
Yeah.
Of what?
A bat box.
It helps control insects. The average brown bat consumes 3,000 mosquitoes per year.
Wow.
So they do it.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of bats. They're very good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're good. So we're gonna add a second one.
And possums eat their weight in ticks, so don't hurt a possum either.
Oh, some kicks.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll have to put a possum house in.
I don't think just put cat food out and they come. It's not good,
They're so
but
beautiful.
they do.
So beautiful.
And they run. I mean, they literally run to the barn after you leave it. I couldn't believe how much the outside was learning.
And they don't move very quickly when you're driving a car.
No.
Well, maybe not, they're going to the bar and they go zip, zip, and I thought, oh my God.
So any questions further than you do this other than me?
Or do any of the managers have something they want to be sure that the board members either saw in the report, or if it didn't get in your report, that they hear about?
We're still having trouble with our Wi-Fi. It disconnects at 12:20 every afternoon. So, but it has to be in this building. So I'm not here on weekends typically. So it disconnects. So a lot of our numbers are not being calculated. If I'm not here to reconnect it right away. So our Wi-Fi numbers are actually better than.
Can they show up?
I have a
Yeah.
question before we go on.
Huh?
I have a ton of mostly hardcover books. Are any of the buildings having a,
Oh, yeah. that's-
And I don't remember what the date.
The end of October.
Yeah. Fayetteville's is the 27th through the 29th.
What is the one for Fayetteville?
27th to the 29th of this month.
Okay.
It's on our.
Is it on the sheet?
It's on the sheet
Okay.
for Fayetteville and Mary P. under Friends News.
Oh,
And Mount Oryx is,
Next year, I guess.
yeah.
is there a protocol for bringing them in, like you want them boxed and not too heavy or?
We're not too particular.
Okay.
We don't like the ones that have been, in the attic for so long that they, that's really.
They're musty.
No,
Yeah.
they're not.
they're not small.
But no spiders.
No, they're on my shelves.
No worries. Vibrations.
Back in the
My
box.
husband makes so much fun of me because I won't kill anything. I take it outside.
Lot nicer than.
Have a neighbor like that.
If there's nothing else about the building report itself, we can move on to the statistics.
Yes.
And you got
Okay.
more than you usually do because it was the end of the quarter, and at the end of the quarter, we give you the detailed numbers that are kind of compiled into some of the other major categories on the pink summary sheet. September tends to be a little bit slower than some other months just because of the fair and downtime and people doing other things. But like I said, it feels as though things are very busy, and we haven't compared to the same month in prior years for a while, just because of the weirdness of the pandemic and how that changed all of that. So we're still not really at that comparing this month to the same month prior year, but it's busy. We do have fall book sales coming up in many of the buildings. So don't be surprised if next month's discard numbers are even higher because they're doing some last minute preparation for that. I don't know if any of the managers have any comments about, anything that they think is going out well or seems to be really popular right at the moment with patrons. I don't see anybody unmuting. I will say that we're on track to exceed a lot of our annual numbers for the digital downloads, the overdrive numbers, the blah, that just continues to be a really quickly growing part of our circulation. So that's.
It's gonna be interesting when the paper becomes obsolete.
It is.
Well, I mean, I'm saying never, but I'm saying there's a time.
It's very interesting. I stopped because the paper would come one day and then we'd have 2 days without a paper, and I'd call and, oh, we'll take care of it. I finally quit because I never knew when I was gonna get a paper.
I do.
So that's the
online.
problem.
Yeah, I do all of it online.
They have nobody delivering.
Right. Well, and the fact that, the generations that were raised on the electronic devices and with
They're-
digital
yeah.
data when they're the ones who are doing most of the using.
I used to read the paper from cover to cover. I mean, and
So-
now I do.
So
it.
at our, at the convention I was at a couple of weeks ago, we had two presenters go up to meet with someone that was running it. And you had to break into groups, then each group had two leaders. And then when we were done, we took turns and the two leaders would go up to the chairman. So you want to talk about a generational gap. So the older person takes a notebook up with a pen because he wrote his notes down. And the young associate next to him took her phone. She read from a notebook.
Sorry,
She read from this.
it's not even that.
That's the difference.
Snowshoe, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Kendrick Andrew. I have no idea who that is.
somebody calling.
People
something.
Yeah, this time of year, and they have somebody's name on it, and it just drives my husband crazy when we get one and it looks like it's a local number. I says, honey, don't you know how easy that is for them to make it look like it's a local call? And it has nothing to do with the local. I'm sorry.
Are we
I
good
muted it.
for announcements? Any other
So
questions?
I was gonna say that I did print off a couple of the announcement sheets if anybody needs those. I did email them the PDFs yesterday. I don't know, my days are all running together. So, good news is that, as far as Georgetown is concerned, Duke has been out. They did remark lines about moving the gas line. I did receive the quote from them. It was under $2,000. Yay. The bad news was that they came, well, what did we discover? It was maybe around the 7th of October-ish that we discovered they had shut off the gas on the outside of the building. And nobody told us that they were shutting off the gas. And we got no response to me calling every day of the week. And so when our HVAC person was here doing that work that you all approved, they turned gas back on, and we don't have frozen pipes, and we have, comfort levels temperature wise. So, I know how it is with contractors. They have their schedules, they have the things that, impact them, but it would be really nice to know that it's like a gas being shut off was going to be taking place and how long it was going to be done. So anyway, that's in progress, but I don't know what that means in terms of when they'll show up to actually do the boring and move gas line. And they did warn us we would be down and out of gas when that happens, so we'll see.
Are they gonna come on like a evening then when you're closed?
I doubt it, because we're talking about contractors and union employees and kind of out it. But the good thing is that amount of money is based upon the fact that they're bringing a machine and a crew, and they will bore underneath. They're not trenching it. They're gonna bore. They're gonna put in the new line, or disconnect the old one. It'll all be done, and it will be done, that'll be done, it should be a day, yes, it should be a matter of maybe 6 hours, but we're still going to be, without gas for that period of time. Funding opportunities, so I guess the big one is that we did submit that grant. Thank you very much, Heather Patton and our consultant or temporary worker, or whatever you want to call Cheryl York, who is currently in Washington State, but still does work for us on occasion, for actually doing a lot of the research and compiling and putting it together. And it was 42 pages long, this application. Oh my goodness. And we don't know, $5 million, 67 library applications, who knows what that means? Just there's a lot of competition, and I hope that we'll be contacted maybe with some questions about some of the things they are reading so that we don't get an outright no, but if we have to make some adjustments, we can do that and get some money rather than no money.
When are they anticipating to?
They
With us.
really wanted to have the decisions made by the end of this month.
Really?
Oh, they
Wow.
want the money out of their pockets and spent.
Right.
Yes, they do. So yes, it might happen very quickly. And then guess what? We're all going to be crazier in the fall than we are right now. And I had sent along, I think it was in this particular packet, well, maybe it was last month, the one pager that I did as kind of here's what we think we might want to ask for with this foundation or the Appalachian funding grant, the Ohio Builds grant. I was fortunate to be involved in a video meeting with some employees of the governor's office for Appalachia and OLC representatives where, OLC basically facilitated this meeting so we could hear directly from that office who was giving out this $500 million. Really, what are you looking for? How much do you want libraries? And so we got some more information, and it's really nice to know that the state is actually hiring planners that anyone can ask to come and work with us to figure some things out.
That's good.
And then the first phase is actually a planning grant. They've got $50 million set aside for a planning grant where you just then go, oh, here's the great idea. Somebody help us figure out, let's how to do all those pieces. And if you can hire somebody who can do a lot of it, then that's that first section. And they anticipate that's going to open up within the next couple of weeks. And then that will go for a year. And then the second year is when that $450 million that's left will be open to actual implementation grants. But they are really focusing and emphasizing multi-county, many groups. I have had some conversation with people in our county, and there are various groups that are interested, but it doesn't seem at this point that there is any coordinated effort, which might really work against us. So I'm going to do my best to talk to everybody that I know who's interested and say, we need to do something together and get money coming into the county, however it is, and not work at cross purposes to one another. So I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
So if you hear people talking about it, just encourage them to talk with others and see what we can do to work together.
It's really smart to do it that way. I've never seen a grant awarded where they do a planning and implementation when it guarantees more success.
Exactly. Yeah, why would you not? If they've got planners on their payroll that they're going to say, here, all you have to do is call us and we'll send them to you free, Yeah, exactly. That sounds really good. Yes, it is. And then Sarah and I took part in what we didn't know was going to be a 2-hour webinar with the Auditor of State's office about the changing of accounting codes. Apparently, there are many libraries around the state who are not doing the level of detailed accounting, detailed reporting that they want to have done. And so they are approaching that by saying, okay, we're going to teach y'all and we're going to make this a 2-year process to get this going. Unfortunately for us, it's not really a 2-year process because we will no longer have options to do things the way we do come 2024. But our budget cycle for 2024 starts early in the spring. I'm usually working on it in March so that it can be to you for approval in April, and then it goes to the commissioners before the May deadline, and then goes to the Budget Commission. So we need them to finish defining all those categories that they haven't defined yet, so we can actually decide, oh, well, this thing we're paying out of this now, that needs to be this and this. But it's there's some things that are no brainers,
Right, right,
you
right.
know, utilities,
Right.
you know, so. But there are other things, particularly when it comes to payroll, where you work part-time, Amber, you work part-time in one building and part-time in another building, and 75% of your time should be spent managing, and 25%, you know, is a maximum of on public service. So we're gonna have to divide you into 4 accounting lines, you know, so it's. Good times. Yeah, so. And I don't know that that's true, but that's what I was thinking when I was listening to what they were talking about, and thinking that, yeah, you know, I can see this for bigger organizations, but for us, it feels like it's overkill.
Yeah.
But
Now, is that gonna be the onus on the two of you to do that?
yeah, so Sarah already got going and did some copying and pasting of some
I
things.
took pictures of the whole thing and then I like mirrored everything that I was seeing into a big.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, so I had said to Sarah, you know, it would be really nice if for our temporary appropriations at the end of this year for, you know, 2023's temporaries, that those things that are no brainer, straightforward, we can actually use the codes that they have defined and at least have those done and out of the way. And then we will only need to spend our time working on those wacky ones. That's the point.
So are they changing like the setup of UAN then?
No, so in UAN, we use like 4 digits, like we have the general, I'm gonna use the general.
Yeah, actually, if you, do they
Yeah.
have it on any of the reports that you can actually look at and make? I see it on the revenue.
I'll just go on my resume, which I don't think we have to touch the side, but. So basically, yeah, so. Yes, the account code for like general, 1,000 will stay that. We're gonna have to change.
The next one, which is a program. code.
Yes, and we have 100s,
For almost every.
yeah. Except for like capital projects, so that 100 will have to change. So 5 or 6 different, there'll be 5 or 6 different options.
Yeah. Yes.
So once
And
we get
then,
there,
and then the next, there's 4 sets of digits in the account line, the fund, which is that 4-digit, 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever. Then there's the next one is the program code, which we don't use all of them. We use one, like you said, 100 for almost everything, but they're defining several, like 110, 120, 130, whatever, and 210, 220, so they're breaking those things out because they want us to assign. Yes.
So sub-accounts.
Yeah, just more detail.
I can't remember, I had it in my notes.
Yeah, and then the next set of numbers is what they call the object code, and that's things like, okay, everything in the 100s is HR related, everything in the 300s is services, everything in the 400s is materials and supplies. So those things are pretty well set, but I think that there are several that, you know, we've just never we haven't used everyone in the numbers in the 440s or whatever, and they want us to start really subdividing those things.
I think it'll be the 110s through 200s are gonna be the tricky ones.
So it's just going to take a lot of, okay, well, and then as we are buying things, it's no longer going to be, oh, that's a book. So that's 411 and it's for Georgetown. So it's 411-1001. That's their building code number. It's going to be, oh, this is for staff. This book is for staff use. So that actually goes in this category. So it's, you know, it's maybe not so much with the materials. I don't know, but definitely with other things. So it'll make us use our brains more. I don't know.
Oh, God.
That's all I.
Committee reports.
We have a personnel committee meeting scheduled for next month at 4:45, and it will be in Fayetteville because that's where our board meeting is next month.
That's great. Fantastic.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve disposal of property, which I believe is the yellow sheet.
Yes. I move that we dispose of foam blocks and letterboard signs.
I'll second that.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Roll 'em away, Amber.
Now, do I have to do these next ones all separately, Lynn? Or do we lump them?
You can
together?
lump them all together if there's nothing that, anybody questions or doesn't agree with. I just listed them because that whole concept of the credit card touched several different sections, and I wanted to be sure that it was clear what we were looking at. And so that's what it is. And what I looked at additionally to the $20,000, which is on the 8.1, which is the credit card part of it, you'll see that I am also asking you to change our purchase approval threshold. It's been $5,000 since I started in 1997.
What are you trying to say?
Times are changing. You want, I'm trying to say I got old, Barb. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And if you haven't gone back through and counted the agenda items, you might see that, more and more often I'm having to come and ask for approval to spend to get something done because things just cost more. So I'm asking you all to give our authority to spend to $10,000. So
That's on one purchase, Lynn?
that's on a single purchase, right? So
That's a lot.
yeah, it is, but it's not like we're gonna spend $1,000 or $10,000 on an Amazon, purchase. It's gonna be more likely. I can go ahead and have that HVAC fixed right away
Right.
and not have to wait until a board meeting or call for a special.
Right.
I think that's good.
I move to approve the
I
revisions
just think it's a
to
lot of money.
all these policies, all these all these revisions.
I'll second.
I know.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes, it is a lot of money. It makes me nervous, but it's one of those things that this
I would
is
have thought
just.
you would have come back at like maybe 5,500 or.
I think it's really
Go
low.
big or go home, Barb.
The
The way I'm feeling anymore.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, next is to a motion to approve the revision to operational policy 6.6 patron code of conduct.
So this is what I talked about last month, the legislation that had passed about knives now.
Yes.
allowed to carry. So I went back to our patron code of conduct and looked at the places where that might fit in and where we might have language that put a blanket ban where we're not allowed to do that anymore. And so that's what you see. And I actually just attached the second page, there are no changes to it. Or actually, I guess technically the third page, it's the back page there. But just so that you could see the totality of the policy. And I ended up breaking the little section that we had about weapons into two subsections. So we've got the firearms in one and then the knives in the other because they are treated differently by Ohio law. And then in just some other places, I just tightened up some language and moved some things around a little bit so that it would make sense to make that change about the knives and the firearms.
Is this
So-
available to patrons upon,
Absolutely. Yep.
but it's not posted publicly?
I actually don't believe that we have posted it internally, but, or on bulletin boards. You don't have one,
Well,
but.
The age we live in now, just some of the things you've seen on TV, like at McDonald's. If they don't like their order, they throw it back at the server in the face.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they decided they didn't like the book and
Yeah.
back down.
Any
And they shouldn't be
consideration,
allowed in there anymore.
any consideration for posting on the website?
Yeah.
We've been, it's one of those things when, as we have time, we put in policies up there. That's a great one. I actually just made a note to myself that, once it's approved in that whatever format, I'll make a format that is for posting in-house where it's more than just, what you got, and that we can put it on the website as well.
Yeah, because more so than ever with the current consumer, their age, everybody, that generation goes straight to the website.
Yeah.
To look for things. So just something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, this is dating me years ago, back in the 90s, when I worked in radio, so we would have to keep our policies on file and disclose that they're available upon request, so it had to be posted. I don't know if that's something they would post at the libraries to say, if you're interested, it's available upon request or something for the older patrons who use the website.
You're gonna give
The
me-
more experienced patrons.
So I need a motion.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
All right, number 9, a motion to approve renewal of electric supply contract through the Chamber of Commerce affiliate. Yes.
Okay. So Sarah's shaking her head.
I know.
So I gave you what we had, but apparently it's like they need you to have a 24-hour turnaround all the time that they give you a quote and you sign off on it, right? So I gave you what we had at the time. Sarah asked for another quote and he gave it to her yesterday and said, it's good till 4 o'clock today.
And he like followed up with me and I said, my trustee needs to get it until this evening, so
So I don't know. So actually.
That's ridiculous.
I've never heard of it.
It was kind of weird, and I get it that prices fluctuate, but yeah, that's a little bit difficult for us. So anyway, what he sent actually went down a little bit, right? So the Duke Energy number went from that 36 months at 0.08892 to 0.08424.
Who knows tomorrow?
Yeah, well, that's just it. I'm telling you this, but I don't, who knows? And then the AEP one went down to 0.08428.
It's even lower than what you have down.
Right. So it was nice. It went the right direction, right? But we do not know now from talking with people in the industry. I am aware that the current commercial rate average in Ohio is 0.107. So anything under that would be really good. And it doesn't appear that rates are trying to stabilize or go down any.
Start as low as you can.
Well, and that's, we need to do this. Our contract is up in January, and so we need to have something else so we aren't at, the mercy of whatever.
So I would move that we renew for a term of 36 months at the current rate of that day.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, there you go.
Unless it's, unless it is pushing that 0.107, and
Yeah, I can't imagine it would move that much though.
What's the difference between the Duke and the AEP?
basically this organization, so this is the chambers group that gives members discounts, right? And so AEP, we happen to be, Sardinia is on AEP.
Okay.
And, or in their territory, I guess is the better way to explain it. And Fayetteville and Mount Orab are in Duke's territory. Now Georgetown is also in Duke's territory, but Georgetown is an aggregate, so the village handles that. That's why you don't see Georgetown in all of this.
Okay.
So these are 3 buildings that we can get on contracts with. And so, yeah, that's why. So they do the research based upon what we provide them for our bills. And they say, okay, your best rate in Sardinia is with AEP. And at this, you know, we can lock you in at this. So that's how that all works. So you,
I think that was a motion.
you motion,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy, Karen,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
And I need a motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees.
I move.
I'll second. I will share with you, I called Duke. Once I started getting everything straightened out when my husband passed away. Because I had taught so long and my STRS was up there. I no longer got his Social Security. So my husband always wanted to be a farmer, so we have a barn at the edge of Fayetteville. And 3 houses, but I called because the electric was in his name, everything was in his name. So I called Duke and I said, my husband passed away and my electric bill was always just, you know, because the houses, they paid their own. But just our house and the barn, my electric bill just for my house was always close to $200. And now for the last year, it's been under 100.
Great, fantastic.
So maybe they felt sorry for me. Yeah. Maybe that's an old woman and
That doesn't usually work, Kathleen.
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
No.
Well, I've been trying to get my dish, work with them on the loyalty,
Yeah.
and they didn't know what bundled meant. And I said, I've been with Dish ever since it started here at Fayetteville. So then I talked to the Alice that still works over there, the only one. And she said, well, you're talking to the wrong people. And I said, really? Well, Steve gets a $50 discount, my son. So she gave me a different number, but I don't want to bother calling with my friend Cheryl there from Chatfield. Remember, the quilt show is this Saturday, so,
Oh.
you know, with Chatfield closing, we hope at least.
I know, that's really sad. I was really shocked.
It is
I
sad.
expected to
Men
be
don't know
open.
how to run
Yeah, for a long
things like the nuns did. Sorry, Mark. You wouldn't have wanted to run that anyway, would you?
No.
Yes.
So before you officially enter executive session, is there anything that you want to ask our managers here or have them? Or managers, is there anything you want to say before we go into executive?
I will share one thing. I went to the spaghetti dinner at the vocational school last Friday evening with my son-in-law and my daughter and sat right with Tanya. And we talked and I thought, I know her. And my daughter said,
Oh,
Jeff,
Tanya.
if you know her, what's her name? And I said, I can't remember.
What happens to other people?
I know.
You stand out of context.
Yeah.
That's right.
Your mind.
I mean, I sat right down with her and she said, hi, Kathleen. I said, hi. And I thought, I know. What's your name?
Sometimes you have to introduce yourself to these old people. As we
I'll
forget.
keep that in mind, actually.
Yeah.
It's good.
I need to do a vote still for the
Yes.
executive. Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy. Yes. Karen.
Yes.
Sue.
Yeah.
And Tina. Okay.
So anything from the managers or